Hello. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed lunch. Please keep eating. But we are going to get started with our afternoon session. The next session is actually one of my favorites that we do, which is the patient panel. So we get to hear from the patient about their lived experiences with either NMOSD or MOGAD. So first, I'd like to call upon Jasmine Patel, who will be moderating this session. Jasmine works in advocacy, and she's part of the foundation's leadership team. She's based in San Diego. So welcome, Jasmine. And then our panelists are Avery, Jayla, CG, Beth and Lily, and Mimi. Come on up, guys.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? No midday lunch slump going on? Everybody's still energized? Yeah? Okay. Anybody need to get up and stretch before we get started? This is a very important panel. All right. Panelists, how you doing? Good. My name is Jasmine Patel. I am on Samira's team. I'm very lucky to be with this organization. As she said, I've been in advocacy my entire career. You come across a lot of different organizations when you're in the advocacy world. And I've known Samira for about 3.5 years now. And in the 3.5 years alone that I've known her, I've seen so much impact being made by the NMO community, by TSF, by the ambassadors of TSF. And these patient stories are very important to hear from, learn from. These are the people who are the reason why there's so much change in our community, in the scientific breakthroughs that we're now lucky to have, and they are the future of the space. So with that, I'm going to allow every panelist to introduce yourself. So please tell us who you are, where you're from, what condition you live with, and what you're most passionate about in life. Avery, I'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Avery Ullman. I was diagnosed with MOGAD in 2017 when I was 19. I'm originally from Colorado, and I currently reside in Oklahoma. And I'm really passionate about advocacy and raising awareness for rare diseases.
Great.
My name is CG Chester. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I was diagnosed with MOGAD, March 2022. I'm really passionate right now about my kids and living and just learning more about cure.
I'm Jayla. I was diagnosed with NMOSD in 2020, and most thing I'm passionate about is my hair business right now.
Your hair looks great.
I'm Beth. I'm Lily's mom. I do not have a rare disease, but Lily will tell you when she was diagnosed. What you're most passionate about is a really big question. So I can't think of a clear answer because there's so many things I'm passionate about.
We can come back to you.
Okay, but today I'm very passionate about advocating for all of you and for my daughter especially.
I'm Lily, and I was diagnosed with NMOSD in April of 2019, and I'm most passionate about shopping.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What are you passionate about?
Shopping.
Shopping. Oh, same. You and Samira will be best friends then.
I'm Mimi. I was diagnosed with NMO 2017. Originally from Georgia, grew up in Gainesville. And I'm most passionate about living every day to the fullest despite having a rare disease.
Thank you, Mimi. So we heard earlier a patient story, and every single person has their own story. I think in many ways you can all relate to one another. There are a lot of similarities in your experiences, your history, what you've gone through, trying to find a name for your condition, experiencing a lot of uncertainties, frustration, emotions. But I'm really curious to hear, and I think everybody in this room is as well, what your journey to your diagnosis is, what you experienced, perhaps what your interactions with the healthcare system was. You know, some people are lucky enough to get diagnosed relatively quickly, like Samira, for example. Some people go through 5 to 10 years before they get a name for their diagnosis and their condition, and they actually understand what an optimal treatment path forward is for them. So, Mimi, I'll actually start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to diagnosis? And can you just remind everybody when you were diagnosed and touch on how long it took you to get to your diagnosis?
Yeah, so I experienced my first symptoms in 2014. I was in college at the time. I had probably the hallmark symptoms of early NMO that I didn't know were the hallmark symptoms at the time, which were nausea, the hiccuping, the vomiting. And I had that for months. I went to the health center at college. They thought, maybe it was just nerves or a lot of things. But so I went to a neurologist that summer, and I had MRI, I had tests done, and they told me it was ADEM, ADEM. And so after that, I was treated for it, and I didn't have symptoms after that until a few years later. I had more symptoms, which were like numbness, dizziness, nausea again. And so I went to neurologist again, and that's when I was diagnosed with NMO. And this was 2017, so almost 4 years later. And so I'd say I've had good experiences with doctors, but just the education that was out there it was hard for me to navigate. How do I ask the right questions? How do I know when I should be asking for a second opinion? Things like that. That was issues that I had coming to my diagnosis.
Okay, thank you. So Beth and Lily, I don't know if you want to both kind of tell this story together. I think, as somebody who is, your daughter's mother, for example, you have your own perspective and your own lens. And I'm sure throughout this process, you were her biggest advocate during what was a scary time. So I think both of you have maybe your own versions of the story to share. So please also share with the audience. But we can start with you.
I was 11 years old when I got diagnosed with NMO, and it started in my dad's car when I threw up for the first time. And I was constantly throwing up, and I went to urgent care, and they thought I had strep. So when I couldn't keep down the medicine from strep, I went to the hospital, and they diagnosed me with a bunch of stuff. But I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't eat. So I was in the ICU, and then I saw a million doctors a day, and eventually I got diagnosed with NMO. But it was it was a really long process to get there. And I think once you get there, you kind of it's easier, because after I got diagnosed, they put me on the right medicine. And then I had to go to a rehab to learn how to walk and kind of learn how to talk and go to speech therapy. So yeah, your experience with that too.
Yeah, a couple of things with Lily's diagnosis. She was positive for strep throat, and so there was a lot of kind of following that train going down with the medical professionals, and she had extreme vomiting. So she was throwing up, sometimes up to 20 times a day, and couldn't keep a feeding tube down, and so was really being treated by GI for a long time. But, in all, it took about 6 weeks, maybe even less than that, maybe 4 to 5 weeks for her to get a diagnosis, which is miraculous. A quick kind of fun story is Lily and I knew we were in good hands because when Dr. Gombolay came in, she had a Tory Burch pack to carry her stuff. And we're like, she's awesome, she's cool, we're getting out of here. And so, but we were very, very blessed that she was only at JOA for 6 months. And really, we had been seen by every doctor that we possibly could to kind of get to a diagnosis. And when neurology first came in, they could tell that she was not thriving, and she was, because her lesion was in her brainstem, all of her involuntary controls were starting to misfire. And so she was extreme drooling, her tongue was swelling, she couldn't swallow, she was aspirating because she was trying to drink water, all sorts of things were happening. But it really took the expertise of Dr. Gombolay to come in and, very quickly diagnose. And the next thing I knew, we were in the ICU, and there's this big glass bottle with IVIG dripping, and I'm like, what is that? And it, from that point forward, we were on the road to recovery with plasmapheresis and the steroids.
Thank you.
So before I got diagnosed, I was experiencing like a lot of sleeping and a lot of nausea. I wasn't eating and I was having like bad acid reflexes. And through all that, like it was, and then my eyesight too, I was very sensitive to light. I will always like have the lights in the house off. I wasn't watching TV or anything. I wasn't on my electronics or nothing. And then I finally went to an eye doctor. When I went to an eye doctor, they didn't see anything wrong. So they sent me to like a specialist that can look like behind my eye and stuff. And when I went there, he had me like close one of my eyes. He had me close one of my eyes, yeah. And I was completely blind in the other one. And like I couldn't see like nothing out that eye. And so he gave us the recommendation to go to Children's Hospital. And I did. And I say they diagnosed me pretty quick. I got diagnosed and I was there for like a month and a half. And I got IVIG and I got the plasma exchange and yeah. But once I got diagnosed, it was like pretty quick and yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot through the process.
So my initial symptom was optic neuritis. I got it right after experiencing COVID. I didn't know what it was, just like really bad pains behind my eye. I went to the doctor. They did an MRI, and they told me that everything seems fine. If I needed any information, to go probably try to get a second opinion about MS. But right after 2 weeks later, I had like an extreme flare in my optic nerve again. And this time it was painful. I felt dizzy. I felt like faint, like I was in another world. I was going through steroid withdrawals. I had the worst experience with steroids, well, first off. After that, I was hospitalized, and that's when they did extensive testing, and they came back probably a few weeks after I was released. They told me that was MOGAD and to continue the steroids. From that point, to be honest, you guys, I'm still on steroids this day. I've been on steroids now for probably 2.5 years. And it's so tiring. I had planned not to even get emotional, but my journey is still in the process of finding an actual treatment. I'm on mycophenolate, which is a pill I take 4 pills a day. I do an infusion for rituximab right now, and I just actually did my first appointment with the new doctor from moving from Grady to just the regular Emory doctors at this actual center right here, Dr. Lava. So I'm hoping for better. They just initiated the IVIG treatment. I haven't started yet, but I'm just hoping for better. Other than that, I found ways to just navigate symptoms, which is just cold baths, trying to find relaxation moments, just learning how to rest. My new thing this month has been rest when my body say rest. So right now, I'm just praying for the best for this new. I hope so.
So I was in college when I first started experiencing symptoms. I was on a full scholarship for track and field. I was very healthy. I worked out twice a day. I was a vegetarian, eating very healthy. The first symptoms started with an eyeball headache, and I went to the ER 4 different times, and they sent me away each time saying that I was fine. And then they finally came to a conclusion that this was all a mental thing. So they sent me to therapists and a neurologist who put me on amitriptyline. So I was sleeping like 16 hours a day after that. Within about a week, I was almost completely blind. And then within a couple of days is when I started experiencing the paralysis symptoms. And about 3 days from that is when I became paralyzed from the neck down. I honestly was very fortunate to be in Colorado where I was diagnosed. I was at a hospital that they didn't know what was going on, but there was one student doctor who remembered a case study of somebody who had NMO, and he studied under Dr. Bennett, who is one of the leading researchers in NMOSD and MOGAD. And within a couple of days, I had a full treatment plan, and I was able to get Plex, and I was able to learn to walk again, and I got my sight back. But it's been a difficult road with spinal cord injuries, and my biggest symptom was the digestive issues in the bowel and bladder. So I was very grateful to be diagnosed within a couple weeks of my first symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, awareness is, there's a big gap in awareness for many, many rare diseases. And, usually what drives greater awareness is when there's more research, there's more conversations about it in the community. There's organizations that are doing great work who are connecting people with doctors and doctors with other doctors. And now anytime you go to a neurology conference, NMOSD is always there at the top of the agenda. And so I think we can really appreciate that we've come a long way when it comes to general awareness and understanding of NMOSD. There's still tremendous gaps to fill. But, it's really interesting to hear, obviously, that diversity and experience. And, people who are a little bit kind of older in life have gone through quite a challenging journey in comparison to people who are a little bit younger. Generally, that's what you see. But I think, my next question to you all, and I'm not going to ask you to go in order. I'm just going to ask whoever can think of the first answer. I'm sure you can all build off of one another. Is you each have gone through your own experience as you just shared, and I want to thank you for being vulnerable. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. I think you should cry, and I think you should always reflect back. And when you eventually are in a different place, and you feel like you have more control over what you're going through, you're going to look back and realize that the journey's not always straightforward for everybody. So as somebody who's gone through what you have gone through, and even as a mother, advocating for your daughter, being there for her in the front, what is your advice to a new patient? What would you tell a new patient who is going through this new, very confusing journey for the very first time? So just, we can have anybody share like it's hot potatoes. Go ahead.
For me, I would say I would stay focused on the more positive things before I got diagnosed. So I was in band and stuff, and band was a big thing for me. So I would always listen in the hospital. I would always watch band videos or even movies and stuff that just kept my interest or just kept me off thinking about certain kind of things. So I would just say just try to find that that something positive and just keep a focus on that, because it really helps even going through hard times, to just find something that really helps you in your mental state and stay focused on it.
Jayla, I'm a little bit older than you. Can you tell me what band is?
So it's a marching band. I don't know if you ever heard FAMU or
okay.
any HBCU marching band. That's what it is. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I agree with that. For me, they brought in dogs in the hospital, and that was my favorite part all day. Or I had to do plasmapheresis, so they would bring in them before or something, or kind of focusing when your family can come in and see you. That was the highlight, when my brother could see me and my little sister. So just staying on the positive and knowing that it's a journey and you'll get there. So just being positive.
Yeah, the half glass full mentality. It's always important.
I think two things. I think knowledge is power. I think the more you know about your condition, your symptoms, I think it's easier that way to be able to advocate for yourself. A lot of the times we go into these hospitals and doctors' offices and they have no idea what it is that we have, and we have to educate them. So I think when you have that knowledge, and there's so many great resources out there now, and a lot of TSF stuff is patient friendly to be able to understand, and it's not put in doctor terms. I think the second thing is documenting your journey. I know for me, it was very helpful. I've recorded every single appointment, taken pictures at every appointment, because looking back, you can not only see the progression of your journey, but when doctors ask you about certain symptoms that you've had or anything like that, you have that documentation to be able to show. And it really comes full circle when you're at a place where you're like, wow, I've finally made it over that hard incline of just awful stuff that happened when you were diagnosed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you raised an incredibly important point, documenting your own journey, because as you're visiting many different doctors, they don't have that history that you have of your own experience. And even when it comes to getting on treatments, maybe changing your treatment, making sure you have a history of what worked and what didn't is extremely important in making sure that the insurance company has a comprehensive history of what has and has not worked for you. Otherwise, you will continue having to step through many other treatments to get to the one that's actually meant for you. I talk to patients all the time in my line of work, and this is the one thing they say they wish they did more. And even their family members is documenting what they've experienced along the way. So thank you for raising that, Avery. Mimi, want to share anything, or even Beth?
I agree. I think because everyone's journey is so different, even joining some communities through Facebook, through Samara Foundation, and just hearing everyone's story, it's so different. And so I'd say listen to your body, listen to what you're going through, and being able to vocalize that, speak openly to your doctor about that. That's critical to your long-term care and just how you live day to day with this illness.
Mine is just currently give yourself grace, rest, and know that everything has a journey in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple things I've told Lily's story to a lot of people, not to get attention, but really to share the story because it's such a rare disease, and it's actually pretty shocking how many people have come to me, random people, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, that said, I have a family member that's going through symptoms that sounded like your story. How could I, what should I do? And I have found there's a few things I always recommend. Do not try to become a Google doctor. I appreciated you saying that earlier. It is the worst source of truth. And it's such a blessing to have this really strong community for this really rare disease. So the foundation's support has been incredible, and just really being a good source of truth, but also connecting to doctors. And, we're really, really blessed to live in a city like Atlanta with a really strong, with CHOA network being so strong, because we see all sorts of doctors. We see the pulmonologist. We see, the pediatrician is like the most distant from the disease, and that's okay, because through technology we're able to kind of share her records, share her reports. But as a parent advocate, I mean, I'm connecting dots between doctors constantly and trying to make sure that everybody's aligned and that the medicines aren't competing with each other, and that we're aware of what's going on all the time. And I have to be that person, right? That's just sort of the expectation. So just trying to make sure that I'm staying informed, I'm staying connected with the doctors, I'm being a good dot connector, and then, leveraging the community and the resources. And I have found too, personally, like one of the best groups that I'm in is on the Facebook group. And I learned so much about what's happening, and I feel like I know so many people that I've never even met in this community through Facebook.
I mean, social media definitely has its pros and cons, but when it comes to finding other people who know what you're going through, Facebook has been a tremendous connector for people living with rare diseases where, sometimes it can feel isolating and you're alone. But thankfully, especially in a safe, closed Facebook group, you feel like you can be your true self and ask questions openly. So thank you for sharing that. And you brought up a good point, actually. Many, many different doctors. So with these neuroimmune conditions, with MOGAD, with NMOSD, there is a care team. It's not just one single doctor, not just your neurologist. So can you, each of you, just give a little bit of a picture on who is your care team right now? It can be, a psychologist. You obviously have your neurologist. You can also have a physiotherapist. Give us a little bit more color about what your comprehensive care team looks like. Avery, and I'll start with you.
So my care team consists of my neurologist, and then as well as my primary care doctor, just for kind of like the basic needs. But I've also incorporated chiropractic care into kind of my realm of doctors. So I utilize that as well as a therapist, because I think with all of this, especially being young, mentally it's been very challenging. So that's been a very important person to have in my care team.
Mine is just my neurologist. I do small primary care, but he was very unaware of MOG. She's just like, it's only with kids. So it threw me off. And I do neuro-ophthalmology, and I do my own counseling sessions on.
Right.
My care team is Dr. Gombolay and Ms. Gwen. And then I also have a therapist, Miss Erica. Yeah.
You want to try it? Take a stab at it? You want me to do it?
I'll do it. So I have like my regular pediatrician I see like for normal visits, and then I have Dr. Gombolay. Shout out to her. And then I see a therapist, and then I think
Dr. Shan.
who's that?
Dr. Shan, because Lily's on rituximab.
Oh
so
yeah.
She has B cell depletion, which causes her antibodies to be down. So she sees a hematologist oncologist for the blood side of that to help with getting IgG. Plus, pulmonologist has been a common visit.
And then for like my Rituxan, I do it at home, so I have like a nurse to help me with that.
Right now, I'm relatively symptom free, so I mostly just see my neurologist for regular appointments and also primary care doctor. But I've seen, like pulmonologists, hematologists in the past, depending on how severe my symptoms get or if I get a relapse. But yeah, right now it's just the neurologist and primary care.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'll start off this question directed to Lily and Jayla. You both are very, very young. I'm assuming you're both the youngest on this panel. And I remember when I was your age, teenage years they can be complicated. You're going through a transformative phase in your life. You're also, deeply involved in school. You have your social life. You have a lot of things obviously going for you, and you still do, even though you have your condition. But can you tell me about what it's been like living with this condition while also navigating what is just the journey of teenagehood? Tell us about maybe how that may have changed some things, but also, how that may have also driven greater awareness with your support system around you.
So for me, like being in sports and stuff, because I also do play flag football. So like being out in the sun and stuff, like I get tired really quick and like it's just overheating and stuff. But my coaches are like very understanding because I let them be, they are aware of my situation. So I let them know and stuff. So if I ever need to take a break or like sit out, but like I don't think it really has affected like anything like big that I do because like I can still do anything that I put my mind to. So that it thank you. It don't really affect anything for me, but other than like having to like just take down like being like a self-aware and like okay, I need to take a break. I need to sit down for a little bit. That's the only thing that's changed. It's just that I need to take more breaks through certain things. But yeah.
Like with social life with my friends, it's really difficult to explain to them what I have. So like, I'll just be like explaining my friends where I am today. So like, I'm very broad about it, and then like everyone at school kind of knows what I have, but like it's not like a big deal. So like, I feel like teenagers aren't really like aware. And then I think like I can still go to like parties and stuff. Like it doesn't really like affect that or anything like that. I do get like tired too. Like I'll get like really tired during the day or something if I overwork myself. But I don't think it really affects like my day there. Like when you're a teenager, it's like whatever. So like, I mean, it gets me like a free pass with the nurse, but
It's whatever. I like that. Okay, so who has been each of your biggest advocates throughout this process? I'll start with you, Mimi. And if you yourself have been your biggest advocate, that's amazing. And a lot of times that is the case for people. And feel free to admit that if you have been your biggest advocate.
I have been my own biggest advocate, mostly because my parents don't speak a lot of English, and it's very hard translating these medical terms to Chinese. And so most of the time I try to make it seem better than it might be, especially when I'm describing even my own symptoms. But also I am self-aware, and I know like what my limits are and when I need to tell them like I need to go to the hospital or I don't think I'm okay this time. But yeah, so I've been my own biggest advocate in that I don't know anyone else with this disease, and I've had to learn it all on my own before I explain it to my family or my friends. But
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that. I think it brings up an important point. There needs to be more resources to help you as an individual talk to your family members about your condition, not just talk to your doctor. It's not uncommon what you just shared, so thank you for bringing that up. Lily?
I feel like me and my mom both, like, for me, like, when I'm at doctor's appointments with, like, neurologist or pulmonologist, like, I usually just, like, look to my mom because I don't, like, really know. But, like, for myself, like, I feel like if I'm not feeling good or something, like, I advocate about it. So I feel like both ways, but definitely, like, at a doctor's office or if I'm in the hospital or something, my mom.
I would say my mom as well, because the same way, like at doctor's appointments or anything, like I just look to my mom and just let her talk about it, because like I feel like I talked about it like so much in the past, like just sitting in the hospital and like different doctors coming in every day, like it gets tiring. So I would just always just look to my mom and just let her talk.
I feel like I'm my biggest advocate only because I'm a little older than I think everybody on this, and the biggest crybaby by chance. But I think because I live for my kids right now, and on the flip side of that, I've always been the backbone of my family. So for my mom and my dad, I've always been the most powerful, like well, not powerful, but the most strongest to help navigate throughout life for them. So to tell my mom things, it breaks my heart. She cries. She doesn't understand. She's Googling. She's calling me with every new natural way to do something. And it's kind of like depressing because I'm trying to tell her, like, it's not what you think or what you think can possibly help. So I have to keep on, through the journey of the process. So for me right now, it's me. And I actually kind of console myself. And I I stay to myself at home a little more often just to not get the pressure of them feeling bad or trying to understand.
How old are your kids, CG?
This is the funny part, guys. I have a child that's going to be 20. Exactly, y'all. But this is the next part. I have a 6-year-old, and he is Taz. He's everywhere. Dennis the Menace. So when the kids are talking about how they're tired all the time, I have to go through those sport moments. So I'm the mom that goes to practice every day, football practice. I have to ride the dirt bike. I know how to fix a dirt bike, in case you want to know that part. I know how to do everything. And on top of it all, I own a coffee shop. And it's a full-fledged restaurant. So I have a big thing on my plate as far as like actively, constantly going. And on top of that, I have to keep my mom together because my stepdad just passed, and that was a big thing for us. So I have a lot as far as like I'm active like a child. So I can be, like my energy can go like for like a whole good day or two, and I crash as if I had COVID or the flu all of a sudden. So just hearing the story now, I feel so much consoled just knowing that these kids have experienced this thing, and I'm 40 and over here crying. I'm like, this itself is hope. They're so inspiring, so loving, and just so cute to me right now. It's just like, what are you doing, CG, besides saying thank you to God?
Yeah. Well, CG, Samira said this in the very beginning, to not let your diagnosis define you, and you absolutely clearly have not done that. I mean, you're still doing everything. It sounds like you're a super mom as well. I've never met a mom who knows how to fix a dirt bike. But
I just fixed a dirt bike. And then last night he told me we had to buy a new one, so it was online. I was like, wait, it's just too much money.
yeah, I can't even get my husband to screw anything in the wall. So, Avery?
So my support system has also been my mom. Me and my mom have been my biggest advocate. She's on FaceTime right now, but we've been a team. When I first got diagnosed, we weren't very close. I was 19. I was kind of just like, yeah, mom, whatever. I don't want to hang out with you. And then we were spending time together 24/7. And her life changed as well. She gave up her career to basically become my nurse, my caregiver, my therapist, and everything in between. And also on top of that, still taking care of herself. So I love seeing all the mother-daughter duos and the parents that advocate, because I know I'm very fortunate. There's a lot of parents that don't take on that role. So shout out to all the parents that have taken on that role. We thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for sharing your stories. I mean, this is why this panel is the best panel. So thank you for letting me moderate it, Samira. I'll open it up to questions from the audience. We have about 4 minutes. Anyone have a question? Samira, you have a question?
Hi, guys. Well, first of all, I'm so moved by each and every one of you. And when I look at you, and I'm hearing all of you, especially Jayla and Lily, you're so wise beyond your years, but you're so young. And a part of me is like, oh, they're so cute. But then there's another side of me when I look at actually all of you, Avery, CG, Jayla, Lily, and Mimi, where I feel sad because you've had to grow up so quickly. And I wish I could take, reverse time so that you guys could be kids and be what other kids are doing. So I'm very emotional hearing what you guys are saying, but I'm CG, I'm closer to your age, but for all of you young ladies up there, being a woman in this world is already so hard. Being a woman of color is even harder. And being a woman with a rare disease is the hardest. So if I can ever be like a big sister person type of role for you, or if I can help you in any way, please never hesitate to reach out to me. You have all touched me very, very much today.
Jody, you have a question?
So, Dayla, are you still in high school or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the two of you are in high school, you're looking at colleges. How are you preparing yourselves for taking on the role that your parents have been doing for you?
I think when you're like in a situation that we all were in, you tend to grow up really quick. Like you're like, once you get it's really sad, but after that experience, your childhood's over. So I think preparing for college and kind of just like my brother's going to college, so he's going through adulthood, but I feel like I've kind of already been through it. So college isn't that scary for me. It's kind of just another step, and sometimes it's exciting to care for myself and do my infusions without someone breathing down my neck. It's just nice to kind of have that lift to adulthood.
Yeah, same for me, but taking care of myself and stuff as far as going to appointments and stuff, I've seen my mom do it so much, so it's something that I feel like I should already know how to do for myself. So I don't feel like that would be a big step back or anything. So yeah.
I actually have a follow-up question for both of you. So when you are at your doctor's appointments, are you sometimes leading conversations with your doctors? Asking questions?
Not really as much as asking questions, because they explain everything very well and very understandable for me. So questions is not a big thing, but if it's I always know bringing up something new, if I feel something is bothering me that's new or something, I will always say that.
Yeah, I feel when I'm at a doctor's appointment, I kind of want to get it over with. So I'm this is what's happening today, and so it's
Final questions before we move to the next panel? All right. Thank you all so much. It was amazing. We're going to take a group picture.